Hey everyone, back in the studio. It's been a while, and as you can see, it is nicely painted, brand new. And I'm with my friend Matt. How about this?
I got a new book out. It's called 10 Years of Nomad, A Traveler's Journey Home. It matches my shirt right here.
Yeah, blends in really nicely.
And it's about my 10 years backpacking the world, and so like my opus on travel.
It is so good, and I gotta tell you, I was gonna wait to tell you on camera, I have not finished a book in 3 years until I read your book. That's a big deal, because I always start books and I just lose interest. I could not put it down, and especially as a new mom trying to find the time, I found the time, and it was so good, so well written. And I just felt like I could relate to every single page, and it took me back to the beginning of travel and why I fell in love with it, and gave me feelings that I hadn't felt since that time, you know?
And just give all the feels.
Seriously, yeah, it's so good. So you guys definitely have to go and pick up a copy. And we're going to be talking about travel experiences.
I feel we could just end on that note right there.
Yeah, there you go. And that's
boom.
that.
Thanks everyone. Buy the book.
No, but I want them to get to know you a little bit more. And
this up here.
yeah, sure.
Buy that.
We're going to be talking about, well, first of all, I asked on Instagram what you guys wanted us to talk about, and the winning topic was the most life-changing experiences from the last 10 years of traveling. And I've been traveling for, well, blogging and traveling for about 10 years as well, so that works out. So we can both talk about the last 10 years and how it's changed us. How old were you when you went on your first trip?
26.
26, okay.
Yeah, so.
Crazy. And no one in your family as well had done much traveling, so when you left, everyone kind of thought...
Everyone thought I was crazy.
That's usually the case, I feel. People that don't come from traveling families. My family kind of was supportive, but didn't understand and couldn't relate as well, so...
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the life-changing experiences that you've had during the last, I guess, 13 years.
13 years. Well, I guess the most obvious life-changing experience is the prologue of the book when I go to Costa Rica and travel for the first time by myself. And that is what jumpstarts my love of travel, because before that I hadn't really traveled much, as we just said. My parents weren't big travelers. We would just go down to visit my grandmother, do some theme parks in Florida, nothing big. So I really didn't have a lot of travel experience before this trip, but I graduated, I had a job, they told me I had vacation time, use it or lose it. So I took a tour to Costa Rica, and it was there that I really developed my love for travel, because it was so different. Every day, and this is one of the reasons I love travel, is that you're really the master of your ship, or captain of your ship. You can do whatever you want, any day, whereas back home, I knew everything I was going to do. You know, you wake up, you commute, you complain about the commute, you go home, cook dinner, make an excuse not to go to the gym, watch TV, go to bed, right? I mean, that's like Monday through Friday,
right. Yeah.
You know? And then on the weekends you go out with your friends and you run all the errands you didn't have time to do.
And I think there's quite a few people who want to travel who have not taken that first trip yet. So what is the little turning point that you had that made you want to actually book that flight, especially coming from a non-traveling family?
You know, I just thought it was what I needed to do, because I have a job, I have 401k. Before I even knew what a 401k was, it was just you put money in there for retirement, and what is adulting in a modern life? 9 to 5 job, 2 weeks vacation a year, and so I was just like, okay, I guess I'll go.
So it's just about taking that leap and going for it. Okay, let's talk about the next experience that I guess sticks with you. Maybe one that you haven't really told on your blog. Can you do that? And maybe touch on something that you talked about in your book but haven't talked about in your blog? Or you want to leave that for...
Is there a story you're hinting at?
No! I'm just asking. Or just maybe something that comes to mind that you haven't really shared too much about on your blog.
Here I am from Costa Rica, in love with travel, and the next year my buddy and I go to Thailand, because he was like, let's go to Thailand. He swears I picked Thailand, but I was really gunning for the Galapagos.
But you ended up there regardless.
Yeah.
And that was like the moment that changed everything, really.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that was the first time I ever met like a backpacker.
Right.
Like, I didn't know what they were. And so it was there that I like got to understand this idea, like you can travel long term on a budget and be okay and things will work out and you know, millions of people do it, and it was like whoosh, mind blown. And I just decided then and there, like I hate my job. I know I'm not going to do this for a career. I was currently enrolled in an MBA, so I was like, I'll just finish the degree, take like a career break, and then come back and start my like normal adulting life. You know, get a job, settle down, get a house. So that was the original plan. Never came back, obviously. 10 years of Nomad. But it was that trip that sort of sets in motion everything.
How about, let's change it up a little bit. A life-changing experience that you regret during your travels. Do you have any regrets?
You can ask me that, but I'm going to tell you no. And
Okay.
I can explain why.
Sure, I just asked you. Why?
why are
Why? Yeah, we're still going.
Oh. You know, there's many things that I did that are probably viewed as mistakes, but you know, I really don't have regrets because, you know, you always got to ask yourself, are you happy with your life, right? And if the answer is yes, how can I regret anything that brought me to this very moment, right? Am I happy with my life? Yeah, I love my life. You know, so I don't regret any of those bad decisions. There were always learning mistakes. Here's something I don't talk about in the book, so you can get a little juicy.
Hopscotch the Globe exclusive.
I love to gamble,
Oh, okay.
and
That can be dangerous.
yeah, especially when you lose like close to $10,000.
Wait, was this when you were playing poker?
No,
Okay.
actually, I'm a good poker player. I like to play blackjack. And I actually won $15,000 the day before I came home, a couple of days before I came home in 2008.
Wow. Okay.
And then I proceeded to lose all that,
Oh no.
plus like another 10
Oh
the
no.
next day. I like to gamble a
You
lot.
could have done so much with $15,000.
Right. So like I can kick myself in the butt for that, right? But I was coming home, and I think if I had come home with all that money, I got the temp job I needed to get, which was mind-numbingly boring. So I wouldn't have had all the free time to create my website. Thus, I never would have gone back out on the road or created this website or really be here. So, yeah, like losing $10,000, it really sucked.
15.
Yeah, well, losing a lot of money really, really sucked. But, you know, money comes and goes.
And it turned out to be good in the end,
Yeah,
right?
but, you know, I planned to like use it to like restart my life when I came home, but I ended up starting my blog and going back out again. So it was like I never really missed it, and I have thought about this a lot, and I think that had I had that cushion, I would have restarted my life rather than go back out and travel again, and I would probably just be the really boring corporate job I hate right now.
Like, it's all about perception and how you view it and what you can take from that, and it can always end up to be a positive in the end. Okay, now let's talk about a life-changing experience that maybe your most crazy life-changing experience.
I think my craziest life-changing experience was probably when I decided to move to Bangkok.
Why would you consider it your craziest? Is it because it was the first leap into actually living a nomadic life, or is it how you felt or how other people saw you taking that step and
I mean,
was crazy?
you know, you can define crazy in many ways.
I think bizarre. How about bizarre?
Well, I define it as sort of crazy in the sense that I went to a city where I don't know anybody and I don't speak the language. And for the first couple of weeks, I actually just spent most of my time playing Warcraft because I was like, I don't know anybody here. I've done all the touristy things. What do I do? I don't have any friends. But then, like 8 months later, I left with a wide circle of friends. I had a job. I had a girlfriend. You know, I had all these connections to the city. So for me, growing up as like a really shy introvert, moving to a foreign country, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's completely life-changing. You turn into a different person.
Right. I mean, I left Bangkok much more confident in the fact that, like, okay, I not only moved to a foreign country, it's not like I moved from the States to Canada or the UK where we have some common cultural heritage and speak the same language. I moved to the other side of the world and went to a completely different place. I mean, Bangkok, if you've been there, is a crazy, crazy city. And yet I managed to do it, which also the lesson here is if I can do this, you can definitely do this.
I think that's a great message for introverts because a lot of people think, oh, if I don't talk to people, if I'm shy and that, I'm like, how do I travel by myself? So coming from would you consider yourself still an introvert? You're kind of
I'm a learned extrovert.
A learned extrovert, right. There you go.
If you're an introvert, I highly recommend the book Quiet. It's about being an introvert in an extroverted world and like just how you learn to sort of fake it until you make it. And like, okay, if I have to like be on, I can be on, but like my real happy place is like, don't talk to me, I just want music and I want my nose in a book.
But that's so great about travel too, is because no one actually knows who you are and what kind of person you are, so you can be whoever you want to be.
What travel really does allow you to do is give you the space to sort of test out ways to like solve those problems, because every day you can basically invent a new character, right? Like, I'm gonna be this kind of person today. And if it doesn't work out, well, who cares? Because everyone you saw at that hostel has moved on, or maybe you've moved on, and if it's really bad, you can move on and just like try a different personality, you know, until you sort of come into your own.
That is, I think, one of the most magical things about travel. Now we're going to talk about the most profound life-changing experience that you've had. Profound.
You know, I think when you travel, you have a lot of like profound moments because you're forced to really confront so many of your biases and assumptions about not only yourself, but like the world and people around you and like the people in it. And so there are like tons of moments I've had, but I would say like one of the biggest ones was when I went to Madagascar. And you know, it's one of the poorest countries in the world, despite it being one of the richest in biodiversity. And I think like, you know, you are a person out there in YouTube land, and you know poverty exists. Like, you know poverty exists, I know poverty exists.
Yeah.
You know, but it's one thing to know like intellectually, it's another to actually see it. And so like when I went to Madagascar and I saw like open pit mines and people like panning for gold, and I hadn't been to something like that before, and so it was a good lesson to, in the sense that it really internalizes this idea that, you know, travel teaches you emotionally what you kind of know intellectually to be true. You know, it's, you could say, you know, of course everyone's the same, right? But until like you travel the world and like meet people from around the world and realize they too have the same hopes and dreams and fears that you and your friends have, you don't really know people are the same on a deep level. And so, you know, travel has taught me many things, but I think this was sort of one of the most profound moments in terms of just teaching me about privilege and how lucky I am to not only be able to, you know, have this great job, but like grow up and, you know, in the States and, you know, have a family that supports me and, you know, just have so much opportunity that can't even be fathomed by other people.
I think this is a life-changing experience when you figured out that you don't want to be a nomad anymore. You don't want to travel as much. Like that, I remember in the book, because I have felt that way where I was like, I just want to stay in one place for a bit. And I almost felt guilty about it. So how has that changed you, and how were you able to work through it and be where you are now?
Yeah, there's a couple of moments. Being a Gemini, I am always of like two different minds. So my friends will always joke about how like I say I'm slowing down, but I'm never really. And I'm like, no, really, like this is the last trip.
Yeah, I've been saying that too.
Yeah. There's like two moments. One, it's like 2012 in the book. 2012. And I was in Africa on safari and in Namibia, and everyone around me is with like friends and family or significant others, and I was by myself. And I just thought, I don't really want to see this by myself. I mean, it's beautiful, and I definitely appreciated the beauty of it. I think I really would have enjoyed it more if I could have turned to someone and said, look.
To share it with somebody.
Yeah, you know, I had so many memories alone that it would be nice to start traveling with someone more often.
Mm-hmm.
And so that started a long, long journey. It took about 4 years to finish of winding down my travels.
I want one more thing I want you to mention, because I think this is super important, because we are all so connected to our devices, and it has changed the way a lot of us have traveled. Can you talk about that time that you finally were able to shut off everything and go on a trip and just be in nature and enjoy yourself? Patagonia?
Yeah, I was in Patagonia with our mutual friend Nadine.
Yeah.
So we were on this tour with Intrepid, and I mean, of course, like, it was really hard, and the second we got Wi-Fi, I was back on it.
You're not supposed to say that.
But you know, because like, we were in this little town, and these guys came up to us, we were in this hostel, and they were like, hey, you want to come join us outside? And I was just like, no, I got work to do.
Right.
And they're like, well, did you come to Argentina to do work or drink wine? And they made a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I eventually shut my computer and went out and enjoyed that. And the next day I felt guilty for having fun. And that was sort of when I realized, okay, like, why do I feel bad about the fact that, like, I just had an amazing night? It was great.
It's the thing that's why you travel in the first place, right?
Yeah. And so, feeling guilty, I was like, okay, this is the end. And when we went to Patagonia, we were only there for like 4 or 5 days, but it was the start of learning to unwind and disconnect. Go live, enjoy, have fun. Read this book along the way.
Thank you so much. Those were some awesome experiences, and he definitely goes into more detail about several of these in his book. And you mentioned things that don't exist on your blog, talk about romance and all the good stuff. So
romance, weird shit in hostels.
Yeah.
Some really interesting hostel stories in this book.
Yes, there are.
The book is amazing, and you should buy it. And then you should gift it to a friend or leave it in a hostel along the way.
Yes.
It's also very light, so it travels well.
All right, so I'm going to leave a link in the description box below where you can go and buy Matt's book. And if you want to meet him and get a signed copy, you can do that too, right? Because you're going on tour.
I'm going on book tour through the end of August.
Well, I'm so proud of you, because I know this is the first type of story like this that you've done.
Yeah.
But honestly, it doesn't come off that way. So again,
thank you.
Thank you, and go get a copy. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.